Manning. New book out, Right or Wrong, The Writer's Guide to Creating Comics. It's based on, culled from my long-running column over at Newsarama.com called Right or Wrong. And I'm obviously throwing the book stuff as well, and I want to kind of help you guys out as much as I can about the process of creating comics. Just a little bit about me. I'll kind of say, you know, who I am, where I've come from. Can you guys hear me okay? We're good? Because I'm pretty loud. I actually started my career creating comics back in 2002, which I realized how old that makes me sound. I know. Maybe some of you weren't born in 2002, maybe, I'm not sure. And what I started doing was back in 2002, I started publishing my comics online. Back in the days of like dial-up modems and things like that. And what I did was I created a series called Nightmare World, which is a series of short stories. Each story was 8 pages, and what I would do, I don't have 8 pages to say, is I would call the internet, and at the time message boards, things like that, and I would find artists whose work I liked, and I would ask them I'd introduce myself and ask them one simple question. What would you like to draw? And this is a theme that you'll probably hear me come back to a lot, because all of you interested in writing? Who's wants to, I'm just checking, write? Any of you draw? I'm just curious. I can't draw. You can draw? Good. You can or you can't? I can't draw, trust me. But I would ask the artists, what do you want to draw?
Thank you.
And then, and actually I would person say, what would you be interested in maybe drawing for a couple of pages? One of the most important things that, as writers, some of the most important advice I can give you up front, is you want to start very small. When you're approaching artists, you are one of hundreds, if not very likely thousands, of writers that are approaching artists. Artists are the belle of the ball, so you are sought after, I'm sure. And what you want to do is you want to make yourself as enticing as possible to artists that would be interested in working with you. The key to do that is keep things very short and cater it to them. And that's what I did with the series. Nightmare World is a series of 8-page stories, and they're all just different genres of horror and things like that. And one of the ways that if you look at the books, you'll see different art styles, things like that, different artists all over. We did, I even did like a stick figure Wolfman story in one of the volumes, because this artist was an amazing artist, and she did stick figure art. And I said, I would love to work with you, and I do the stick art. I'm like, yeah, I know. So we did a stick figure Wolfman story. But as a writer, one of the most important things that you can do, cater your artists and keep things short. How many of you have that series that you really, really want to tell? Have one. If you want to write this series, you want to tell. One of the most other important things that you can do is if you have this story you want to tell. You guys all know the basic about the plot triangle. You got the introduction, the conflict, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, the resolution. When you're going to talk to an artist, distill your big story down to the climax and start there. Start at the highest point in the action, and then end as soon as possible. Try to distill. I don't care if you have this series that you want it to be 100 issues long. I have series too that I want to make 100 issues long. I told that series, I got picked up by Image Comics Shadowline. I've got 3 trade paperbacks out and counting. And I told my series, my big story, but I told it in 8-page chunks with different artists drawing each story. Because no artist is going to want to commit to drawing a big, giant, long series. It's not that your story's not good, your story may be great. But you want to start as late as possible and get out as early as possible. Distill your story down to the coolest part and tell that part. 8 pages. Boom. It's doable. And I know you're thinking, oh, but I got this character and he's so cool, he's got all this stuff. And I'm going to say this very politely, and I'm going to say this by myself as well. No one cares about your character development. It's not that they don't care about you. It's not that your character isn't awesome. Your characters are probably great, and your story is probably great. But you need to hook people in immediately to what you're doing. You are not Scott Snyder. You are not Jeff Johns. You are not Brian Bendis yet. Hook people in right off the bat. Get in as late as possible, get out as early as possible, then move forward. Now, if that story is really well received, people really like it, you can go back and tell more stories about those characters. Even if you kill your main character in the first one, that's fine. You can still tell other stories about them. What's stopping you? Here's what led to that point. So don't set yourself up. Is one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you. Start small. The other thing I'm going to tell you, I'll say this and then I'll talk to you guys about what you want to know about, is as the writer, you're going to be the captain of the ship. The artist, the art team is the crew. Who's more important to the ship, the captain or the crew? Let me put it another way. Who makes the ship move? The captain or the crew? It ain't the captain. The captain's the guy. The captain's telling you where to go. As the writer, you are the captain of the ship. But you need a crew. And you need to take care of your crew. And you need to work with your crew. And you need to realize that the crew is not a means to an end. It's a collaboration. It's a process. Again, like I said before, when you see an artist you want to work with, ask them, what do you want to do? If you're a writer, and what was your name, ma'am? Emily. If I see Emily's artwork online, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Emily has an awesome artwork, I want to work with her. I would contact her and say, you know, my name's Dirk Manning, and I do here, you know, I write comics, things like that. I really like to work with you. What do you want to draw? And I'm going to say, what's something? Just name something. I don't know. Right? Someone just give me a noun.
Puppies.
What?
Puppies.
Puppies. She goes, you know, I've really been in the mood to draw puppies. I don't write Nightmare Road. I don't write about puppies. But I like Emily's artwork. And I'm a writer, right? You know what I'm going to do? Take a wild guess. I'm going to write about puppies. And I'm going to get to work with her. And it's going to be great. And if that's what she wants, if she wants to draw puppies, man, I will give you a puppy story. And that's a challenge for me too. And I'm going to write a little 5 or 8 page story. And she's going to be, oh my gosh, you gave me a puppy story. Or not that you talk like that. Thank you for the puppy story. But she's going to write it, or I'm going to write it, she's going to draw it. Things are going to be cool. She's happy, I'm happy. And now we both have finished product. How many of you have anything that you've written illustrated? And I'm not trying to be a jerk, like, okay, good. If you have a website, put it out there. Let people see it. A lot of people are very hesitant about giving their work away for free. I created this, Emily and I created this puppy story, and it's so cool, man. And then I'm going to go to a show, and I'm going to say, buy my puppy story. It's $5. Fine. This is a puppies. Jerry King Lawler, anybody? Puppy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Puppies! That worked out so well. That wasn't even a plan. A lot of people are very hesitant to give their work away for free. Like I said, I started Nightmare World as an online series back in 2002. Every Thursday at nightmareworld.com, I put up 2 pages of artwork. that I work with, I'll contact these artists. What do you want to draw? I want to draw dragons. Man, I will get you a dragon story. What do you want to draw? I've really been in the mood to draw a Western story. I will get you a Western story. And then I'd get done emailing them, send the email. Bong, bong. It was 2002. It sends out, and I'm like, oh God, how the hell am I going to write a Western story? I'm going to write it. I'm going to do my research. And I decide, what's the story that I want to tell? What's the story you want to tell? Well, how do I feel about, this sounds terrible, how do I feel about puppies? Like the real ones, not this one, no. How do I feel about puppies? What's the puppy story that only I can tell? When you guys are going to approach artists and work with them, what's the story that you can tell? Your story should talk about how you feel. Anybody can write a Batman story. Anybody can write a Superman story. Anybody can write an X-Men story. And that's fine, because they represent an idea. Okay? Batman is a guy that turned a tragedy, he turned a tragedy into a very noble cause. And in doing so, made himself the epitome of the human condition. Batman doesn't lose. Batman beats Superman. Batman beats everybody. Batman's awesome. But you take a character like Wolverine, or Spider-Man, or Superman, or on and on the list goes, the Hulk. They each represent a theme. That's also very important. What's your theme when you write? And that's what's going to make an Emily respond. She may not necessarily agree with how I feel about puppies, but the story says something. And the story's got to be a representation of you as well, in what you feel. And what's going to work out really well is if I write this puppy story for Emily, you don't mind if I keep using it? And she's like, wow, man, that's pretty, cool. That's interesting. It says something. Now, to get back to what I was saying, I started publishing online in 2002. Stone Age of the Internet. We were the first ever teams to put fully realized comic books online. Back then, like when you would load a page, it would like load up like this. I'd go to like my parents' house because they had internet. I was like, whoa, people are like rich. And like 5 minutes later, they come back and the page is up. There's the first page. Click. And then leave the room and come back for the second page to slowly start loading up. The way we had to see my work. It's crazy. So I published my work online for free. And I had a lot of people telling me I was really stupid. Why are you giving away your work? Who's going to buy it if it's online for free? Here's the analogy. And some of you may think that's fine. Here's the analogy I'm going to give you. What's your name, sir? Andrew. Do you mind if I? Okay. Let's say that Andrew, and are you comfortable being the villain in this story? You're really eager about that. They smile and like, that's it, fine. Do I just follow him? All right. Andrew and I both are comic writers. We both want to write comics. Andrew works with Emily, creates a 5-page story about Barbara. And Emily and I did this story about puppies. All right, so Andrew writes this story about Barbara. Barbara is a spider. That's not very nice. Wow. Okay.
A damsel in distress.
A damsel in distress. She was surrounded by spiders. And he writes this story, and it's cool, and it's all about the human condition, and why are people so afraid of spiders? Spiders are so small, right? And he writes this great story, man. And Emily just draws it. Jim Lee's like, oh, it's so good, And Emily and I do this real cool story about puppies, and it's about something. Nightmare, man. Actually, I do have a dog story, and then it'll bite when it comes out. But we both do this real cool comic. Okay? I publish mine online. And Andrew gets his printed up. Now here's the other thing. It is very economical to print your own comics nowadays. If you go to places like Kablam, K-A-B-L-A-M, and wow. And then Peter, an animal. This is the most surreal thing, right? Where should it come in? Wow. Like the whole Muppets crew just walked by us. Okay. I just lost my.
I know, like,
Kablam. Kablam. K-A-B-L-A-M. You can do print-on-demand comics. You can print comics in color or in black and white very reasonably. Another one is called IC Geeks, do very nice work. It's letter I, letter C, Geeks. If you talk to Barry Kablam or you talk to Noel at IC Geeks, tell them you talk to Dirk Manning. And that might help you a little bit. Maybe. They're both very good people that will do very good work. This is a full color comic. 24 pages, full color. Everyone wants to go to Kinko's to get their books done. This full color, their last Shirley templates last night. Nice quality. Not bad for well under $2 an issue. That's nice. That's real nice. Go to Kinko's and find out how much it costs to print a 24-page full-color comic. It's not cheap. The nice thing about print on demand is it's just like what it sounds like. If you want 5 copies, you get 5 copies. If you want 1,000, you print 1,000. The technology's out there. So you can print your own stuff. Now, go back to the original example, the Andrew, the supervillain, and Barbara, the damsel in distress who's afraid of spiders. I published my story online. Andrew, he's a smart guy. He goes the print-on-demand route. He gets these made for about $1.65 an issue, sells them for $3. He makes $1.50 a pop. I published my story online, and then I put it out, $1.50 a pop, $1.60 a pop. Put a couple little extras in there that weren't online, but some of the sketches Emily did, the puppies are so cute. The bulldogs got the smashed faces and all that. Big googly eyes. Andrew and I are the show. Here's his book. Barbara's afraid of spiders. Here's my book, Puppies. We're going to be walking around. Anybody that comes to a show, and you guys know this, you have a certain amount of money to spend. People don't know anything about Andrew's book. Right? They're saying, oh, it's really good, Barbara and spiders, and they're crawling all over. She's in distress. People say, oh, Dirk Manning. Yeah, I saw your stuff online. I really enjoyed it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Well, you know what? Here's a print version of it. We got some extras in the back that are only available, in the print edition, stuff like that. Who's going to sell more books? The person that they know my work, they enjoyed it, or Andrew, who's just saying, this is really good, buy it and find out. Make your own decisions. Pardon?
I still like the damn songs.
I knew you would. I know you and Andrew.
When am I going to engage in villainous activity?
What? Because you're going to come up to me and say, yeah. Because you're the one telling me, well, you're really dumb, Dirk. No, you're really dumb. Why would you give away your work for free? We're not Scott Snyder. We're not Ryan Michael Bendis. We're not Gail Simone yet. You gotta let people know what you do. You gotta let people, and you can't be afraid to pay your dues and give the stuff away. It's okay. It's okay. And that's how people will invest in it. That's why people buy Nightmare World, like Nightmare World. They say, I read it online, I really enjoyed it. Good, cool, man. If you liked it online, now you can have one you can read on your toilet without burning your legs on your laptop. That's kind of getting outdated now. So the tools are out there, man. Talk about all that stuff and more in the book. We still have the show here for $15, so they made 50 of them for the show. Detroit exclusive. But what are questions you guys have? What can I do to help you guys out? Yes, ma'am.
How do you write with a co-writer?
How do I what?
Write with a co-writer?
Personally? I don't. Here's what you do. And really, in a lot of ways, your artist may be your co-writer. Decide on the story together. What's the story that you guys together want to tell? Because you got to get on the same page. And ultimately, and I talk about this in the book a lot, There's a difference between your plot and your story. Decide on your story. The plot is what happens. The story is what's it about. So I take it you're working with a co-writer?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, what's the story about?
Like a 1930s detective-y.
Okay.
Supernatural.
1930s detective. Okay. You've known your co-writer for a while?
Yeah.
Decide together, what's the point? What's the message you want to tell? Decide on that together, and then basically one of you is going to do the heavy lifting and break down the panel count, break down the pacing, things like that, and write it. Then you give it to each other, you smooth out the dialogue and stuff, and you go, is what I would recommend. But decide together, what's the point of it? And then basically you flip a coin of who's going to break down the panel count. Open communication, just like when you work with artists. Open communication. Everyone's got to feel respected and like they're contributing. But decide together, what's the real point of this? Hammer it out. And what are the, like, is it going to be like 22 pages or 8 pages? Or
Probably like
20 pages? One of the best things you can do is you take a line sheet of paper. This is true for anyone writing something. If you're going to write a 22-page story, which you should write no more than that, try to write less. But you number your line piece of paper with a 22. You're going to find there's about 22 lines on it. It's perfect. And write down what happens on each page. It should only be on one line. 1930s detective walks into the room, sees a girl with long legs. Mysterious blonde one. If you can't fit it on one line, it's too much for a page. But break it down that way, you know. But what first and foremost I say, decide on what the message of your story is, and just talk to each other, jam with each other. And then one of you do the heavy lifting of just break down the panel count. But I'd break down the page count first. If you're doing 22 pages, it should be a line a page. And if you can't write on a line what's going to happen on that page, it's too much for one page. Because that's the other thing a lot of people want to do. They want to overwrite. They want to put like 8 or 9 panels on a page. You can do a 9-panel grid, but then you don't have much dialogue. Does that help you at all? Anyone have any other questions about anything? I mean, yes, sir.
How would you go about converting?
We gotta be real loud. I'm sorry.
How would you go about converting a book you've written into a novel?
Writing a book. Then what?
Converting a book.
Oh, convert. Thank you. Like you've written a prose novel, and then you want to make it a comic. You do what's called reverse engineering. What you do is like you read a chapter, and again, this kind of goes to what I said earlier, and say, okay, get to the main important things that happen. And again, my biggest tool when I write is a lined piece of paper. Can I break down this chapter, this section, into 22 pages? Write down on each page, or on each line, this is what happens on this page. This happens, this happens, this happens on this page. And find the most important things that happen. Find what they call the beats. What are the most important beats in this book? Guy walks into a room, meets this blonde-haired woman. She says, I need you to help me find my puppies. Okay, he agrees to go find them. He gets to the house, it's filled with spiders. Just write down on a piece of paper, what's the important stuff? Because prose novels have the big advantage of being very big, very descriptive, very Comics get to be a lot more economical because you want to show off pretty pictures and things like that. Just get to the important parts and then just break it down panel by panel, just show it. Because comics and movies and books are 3 totally different things. If you're looking at a prose novel, you want to adapt it, find what's important and show me that. I don't need 3 panels of the guy, Joe Smith walked across the office and was pacing and thinking it was all blah, blah, blah. He wasn't sure what to do. I just need a picture of him sitting there going like this, and then move on to the next thing. Because a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So that's what I would recommend. Find what's really important, and strip it down to that. Just the important stuff. Yes, sir.
You have a story that can be described in less than 8 pages.
Yeah?
Should you fill up?
No.
Should you be more descriptive or?
No. Shorter is better.
Shorter is better.
Shorter. I mean, because don't waste people's time. You know, one of my favorite stories I ever wrote, and ever co-created with someone, was a page long. It was called I Miss You. And I'll tell you, all the story was, it was 9 panels. It starts on a shot of a phone, and it was, remember when phones had voicemails, you know, like answering machines? And it starts with someone calling her own house, leaving a voicemail saying, hey, I'm sorry we got in this fight, blah, blah, blah. And then you're just going through the house, and you start to see stuff's broken and all that in the house. And then you go towards, you get to the bathroom, and the last page, she's like, anyway, I'm really sorry, you know, we fought, I'm on my way home. And the last panel's in the bathroom, and you see the guy's arm hanging over the bathtub. Killed himself. I mean, I could have made that. I could have done like the whole story of them fighting, you know, they were in such love, blah, blah, blah. The story was effective in a page. Like I said, print on demand's cheap enough, or just put it on a website. Hey, here's a little 3-page story I wrote. Cool. And it's a lot easier to get someone to draw 3 pages or 5 pages. You know, you're a writer. Push yourself. Talk. I know which one I do. And the book I was talking about where to find artists. Artists all over the internet. But you got to approach them like a professional person. Artists are not your right hand. They're not the part of you that draws. They are other professional people that want to create comics too. And if you guys can share a collaborative vision, they'll work with you. The shorter term, the better, because, you know, working with an artist is like getting married. It's a short marriage, you know. And an artist is going to put a lot more work into the page than you will as a writer. I mean, it's an old cliche, but it's true. It takes me, in the book, the third to last chapter is called Words Worth 1,000 Pictures. And I interviewed about 26 different artists I've worked with over the years. And it's like a 30-page chapter of just them answering 3 questions. What do writers do to make you happy? What do writers do to get you mad? And what advice do you give writers? And there's all kinds of, I mean, the book is worth it just for that section, you know, all these artists talking about this stuff. But a lot of them say the same thing. It takes a writer 5 seconds to type, an army of 1 million minions runs over the mountain. How long is it going to take them to draw? Same thing with the story, you know. If you can tell your story in 3 pages, tell 3 pages and be done, get out. That's fine. The artist will appreciate it. It's about comedy. Comics are very much about economy of storytelling. And you can do a lot when you marry the words and pictures together. And it's possible, it's doable. Any other questions or anything?
What do you mean by breakdown camps? Describe the process.
Yeah. If you know that this is the sequence of events I want to happen, tell it in pictures. What happens? Spiders are closing in on Barbara and they're surrounding her. I can't show motion. I can shape the book and make it look like it's moving around a little bit, you know, but break it down like, let's pick a range. Yeah. What I do is like, I'll say, okay. Okay. This story right here, Paramount. I say, okay. Panel 1. We're looking at a mountain range, there's a forest, there's an old decrepit castle out there, it's by a lake. Okay, panel 2, we've zoomed in on the castle considerably, we're on a drawbridge, there's a gnome talking to a fairy, blah, 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 blah. Panel 3, and can I give it to you? Panel 3, we are now further inside the castle, we see a Gorgon talking to a Golem, there's a Chupacabra in there, whatever. And then I say, okay, the Gorgon's saying blah, 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 you know. Panel 4, we're moving further into the castle. We're moving up the stairs right now. Panel 5, we're in the great room. You know, blah, 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 there's all these people hanging out. Panel 6, okay, we're now walking to the end of the great room. We see a mysterious figure in a top hat and scarf standing on the balcony of the pencil. Page 2, panel 1. We're now next to that guy. This is what he looks like. He's holding a skull for his creepy. On and on it goes. Break it down by panel, but be very conscientious about how much you do. Is that? Yeah. Just break it down bit by bit. Some people write what they call, and I'll say this on record, they write what they call Marvel style, I've done this in the book, when they basically tell the story and let the artist break it down. Personally, I don't do that. I break it down how I kind of vision it panel by panel, but then I tell them, you're the artist, you see things a lot more visual than me, visually, do whatever you want. What do you want to do? Which again, goes back to what I said up front. It's a partnership, it's a collaboration. I've used up my allotted time. Hopefully you've got something out of this. If you want to talk, I'm going to pick up right or wrong or anything like that. You walk in, I'm in the left corner right over here. You guys know this? I'm on the Facebook and the Twitter. I have copies of Right or Wrong book. It's 216 pages of everything I could ever possibly tell you about writing comics, working with artists, and creating comics. You guys know how to write. You know the story you want to tell. Hopefully this will help get you there, and if not, you can kill one. It's nice and neat. So, thank you very much for your time.